Most older guitar students don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because of a handful of easily avoidable mistakes. Over the past 16 years, I've helped more than 40,000 adults over 50 finally start playing, and I've noticed the same patterns over and over again. In this video, I'm going to show you the 13 simple things that secretly kill your progress and exactly how to fix them, so you can finally stop dabbling and start feeling like a real guitar player. Lesson number 1. Ever catch yourself trying to get everything just perfectly right before moving on? One of my students, Margaret, did exactly that. She's 68 and had just started playing guitar. I can play the chords, she said, but when I try to switch between them, it sounds terrible, and I can't move on until I get it just right. Does this sound familiar? Here's the truth Margaret and most of us don't realize. Messy practice is the best kind, not just emotionally, but scientifically. Check this out. Dr. Robert Bjork, a cognitive psychologist at UCLA, has studied how we retain skills. He found that conditions that create challenges and induce more errors often enhance long-term retention and transfer. In other words, every imperfect rep helps your brain learn faster. Awkwardness is progress in disguise. You don't need to sound good, you just need to keep going. Learning guitar is like riding a bike. You don't learn balance by standing still. You wobble, you adjust, and then you move forward. So next time you cringe at a messy chord change, remember, that's your brain learning. This week, don't aim for perfect, aim for progress. Play messy. That's how you're going to get better. Lesson number 2. According to a recent survey, nearly half of my older guitar students have started and stopped learning guitar multiple times before finding our program. They blame themselves for lacking willpower or being too old to stick with it. A couple decades ago, when I just started to teach guitar in person, I thought students who quit just weren't serious enough. They just didn't have it. Then I realized I was giving them 45-minute lessons once a week with no structure for the other 6 days. I was basically setting them up to fail. Adults need micro-commitments and daily wins, not marathon sessions. Research from Stanford's Behavior Design Lab shows that tiny, consistent actions create lasting habits better than sporadic, intensive efforts. It's like trying to eat healthy with only one big meal a week. What matters is what you do every day, not just once in a while. Here's the lesson. Starting and stopping is not a character flaw. It's a systems problem. Fix the system and the willpower problem disappears. So this week, set a timer for 10 minutes and let the system do the heavy lifting. Imagine how much lighter you'll feel when you realize it's not about willpower, it's about having a simple daily routine. Lesson number 3. Students often think the goal is to learn songs and collect them like trophies. But early in your guitar journey, the goal isn't to know 50 songs. It's to understand the 5 guitar skills that make up each song. Let me explain. When you extract the core skills from a song, you see the song as a classroom, not the curriculum. When you go from collecting songs to collecting abilities, you'll actually find learning new songs comes much more naturally. Here's the difference. A song collector panics when asked to play something they haven't specifically practiced. A skill builder thinks, I know the chords, I understand the rhythm, let me go ahead and figure this out. This shift takes the pressure off memorizing every song and makes learning feel lighter and more fun. Here's the lesson. Songs are vehicles, not destinations. Extract the skills, and over time, you'll unlock hundreds of songs instead of just one. Next time you learn a song, ask yourself, what are the core skills that I'm learning here? Lesson 4. So you sit down to practice and you think, okay, what should I work on today? 20 minutes later, you're still scrolling YouTube. Your practice time? Well, it is long gone. I've seen this happen over and over again, and it's not a discipline problem, it's actually a design problem. There's a famous study from Stanford that explains why. Check this out. Researchers set up a jam tasting booth at a grocery store. One day, they offered 24 flavors. The next day, just 6. Now, you'd think that more options would mean more sales, right? Nope. Shoppers were 10 times more likely to buy when there were only 6 options. Why? Because too many choices overwhelm us. And when we're overwhelmed, we do not act at all. It handcuffs us. Guitar is the same exact way. The more lessons you have to choose from, the harder it is to actually play. That's why the best restaurants have short menus. They're not limiting you. They're freeing you from decision fatigue so you can actually enjoy the experience. One of my students, Patty, used to waste half of her practice time bouncing between this video and that video. Now she follows one daily challenge from 5 rotating categories. I don't have to think anymore, she says. I just show up and I just simply play. Follow a structured daily system. No deciding, just playing. Save your energy for learning, not choosing. Here's the lesson. Choices paralyze, structure liberates. When you eliminate the decision, you eliminate the excuse, and learning guitar becomes a whole lot more fun. Now, if you want to experience this for yourself, please join my 5-day Stop Dabbling, Start Playing Guitar challenge. Give me just 10 minutes a day, and I'm going to walk you through the 5 core skills every player needs. Real music, one bite-sized chunk at a time. It starts on Monday. Go ahead and click the link in the description to join for free. Lesson number 5. So many of my students have started out trying to learn on guitars that are physically uncomfortable. High action, and that's where your strings are a little too far off the fretboard. Heavy strings, poor setup. If your fingers hurt more than you expect or chords just feel impossible, it might be your guitar, not you. Seriously, I had one student almost quit until we lowered his guitar's action. Suddenly, playing was fun and not painful. It's like trying to learn to write with a broken pencil. Yeah, you might eventually succeed, but why do you want to make it harder than it needs to be? Here's what I tell everyone. Prioritize a $50 guitar setup if your guitar fights you every time you play. It is worth the investment if your instrument is working against you. Here's the lesson. Physical comfort is a learning requirement, not a luxury. Your guitar should be your partner, not your opponent. It is not a wrestling match. Lesson number 6. When new students feel overwhelmed by all the chords and all the techniques they need to learn, they often retreat into studying theory instead of practicing. They convince themselves that they need to understand scales and modes and the circle of fifths before they can really play guitar, while their actual guitar sits completely unplayed and untouched in the corner. Paul, a student of mine, spent 6 months learning scale theory and could name every note on the fretboard, but couldn't play a single song his wife wanted to hear. You didn't learn to speak by studying grammar first. You learned words, then sentences, then picked up grammar naturally through use. Obsessing over theory too early can actually derail your guitar journey. MIT research shows that novices become overwhelmed when given too much extraneous information. Theory becomes helpful after you have practical context to hang it on. Learn theory as it applies to today's song or technique. Understanding why a chord progression works is fascinating after you can play it, not before. Here's the lesson. Theory is dessert. It's not the main course. Play first, understand second. Lesson 7. My memory isn't what it used to be. How can I remember all these chords and all of these songs? Here's what's actually happening. Your short-term memory might feel a little bit slower, but the parts of your brain that matter most for guitar are actually still very sharp. You're better at recognizing patterns. You can connect new things to what you already know. And your muscle memory, the system that your brain uses to build habits and physical skills, stays very strong with age. In fact, researchers have found that these strengths not only hold steady as you age, they often improve. My student Linda thought she'd never remember all the chords, but once she saw how G, C, and D show up together in dozens of songs, everything clicked. She stopped trying to memorize shapes. Instead, she learned how chords relate to each other, and suddenly it all made sense. Here's the lesson. Your brain is actually built for guitar, not for rote memorization, but for connecting dots, spotting patterns, and building habits. When you work with your brain instead of against it, learning guitar becomes easier and way more fun. Lesson 8. I was doing well last month, but now I feel like I'm getting worse. Learning guitar is like growing a garden. You plant seeds when you play new things, and sometimes you see immediate growth. Other times, the roots are growing underground where you can't see them. Plateau periods are root-growing periods. Adult skill acquisition happens in waves. Periods of rapid improvement alternate with consolidation periods that feel like stagnation but are actually integration phases. It's normal to feel discouraged. But remember, roots grow before flowers bloom. Trust the process during plateaus. Your brain is organizing and strengthening what you've learned. Here's the lesson. Progress is not linear. It's seasonal. Those plateau periods aren't setbacks. They're setup periods. If you're in a plateau, keep showing up. Trust that your roots are growing even if you can't see it yet. Lesson 9. I've heard so many adult learners say, I don't think I have musical talent as an excuse to quit when progress feels slow. Dr. K. Anders Ericsson's studies on expertise show that talent is largely a myth. What we call talent is usually early exposure combined with deliberate practice. Some of my most musical students couldn't carry a tune when they started. Musical ability is developed, it's not discovered. Focus on process goals. Play new things daily rather than outcome goals like playing one thing perfectly. This week, try setting a daily try something new goal to experience the power of process for yourself. Here's the lesson: you don't need talent, you need strategy. Talent is what you develop through intelligent effort. Imagine how much more enjoyable learning becomes when you realize you don't have to be born musical, you just have to have a plan. Lesson number 10. Does this sound familiar? You play consistently for weeks, and then life happens. Travel, family visits, work deadlines, and it takes you weeks or even months to get back on track. Bob was doing great until his grandkids visited for a week. "I'll catch up when they leave," he said. 3 months later, he still hadn't touched his guitar. Over 20 years of studies led by Gabriel Ottingen show that people who make if-then plans are significantly more likely to follow through on goals, even when obstacles arise. Generals don't just plan for perfect weather, they plan for storms. Your guitar routine needs a contingency plan too. Here's what this could look like. If I'm traveling, then I'll just practice chord changes for 5 minutes before bed. If the kids are over, then I'll do finger exercises while they nap. If I'm running late, then I'll just tune my guitar and play a quick little song. Imagine how much less stressful it feels when you know you have a backup plan for busy days. Here's the lesson: plan for life's ambushes with if-then strategies. Hope for the best, plan for the chaos. This week, write down one if-then plan for your most likely obstacle, then see how it changes your consistency. Lesson 11. Every morning you wake up and you think, gosh, what the heck should I practice today? By the evening, you've used up all of your decision-making energy on work or family or life. Guitar just gets whatever mental scraps are left. My most consistent students don't make practice decisions daily, they make them weekly. Steve Jobs wore the same outfit every day to eliminate trivial decisions and save mental energy for the important ones. Apply this to your guitar playing sessions. My student Marie used to skip practice when she couldn't decide what to work on. Now she plans her entire week on Sunday. Monday equals technique, Tuesday equals a guitar lick, Wednesday equals using one scale to improvise with. Her playing consistency jumped from 1 day per week to 5 days a week. You don't decide what to eat while standing in front of the open refrigerator at dinner time. You plan your meals ahead. Your guitar routine deserves the same exact strategic thinking. Spend just 10 minutes on Sunday mapping out your entire week. Pre-decide your focus for each and every day. Imagine how much easier it's going to feel when you just show up and play and not show up and plan. Here's the lesson: batch your week to beat decision fatigue. Decide once, and then you get to benefit all week. Now, if you want to try this, I've mapped out a week of bite-sized daily guitar challenges just for you. Click the link in the description to join our 5-day Stop Dabbling, Start Playing Guitar Challenge. It's completely free and it starts on Monday. Lesson 12. Most adults try to learn guitar in isolation, and then they compare themselves to 20-year-old YouTube phenoms and feel completely hopeless. I've been there. I've done that. Over the years, I've seen countless students joke about watching a video of a college kid shredding through the eruption solo and think, great, I'll never be able to do that. When my 69-year-old student Jim posted a video of himself playing Wonderful Tonight imperfectly but joyfully, he got more encouraging comments than any shred video ever receives. He was surrounded by peers who understood his journey. You don't train for your first 5K run by running with Olympic sprinters. You find other beginners who share your goals and celebrate your pace. Community can turn setbacks into shared learning moments, not private frustrations. Lorraine went from feeling too old and too slow to becoming one of our community's most encouraging voices. Seeing other 60-plus learners succeed gave her permission to enjoy her own progress. Imagine how much more fun learning becomes when you're cheered on by people who get it. Here's the lesson: community multiplies motivation, but choose your crowd wisely. Inspiration is good, intimidation is toxic. This week, share a small win with a peer or a group. Notice how it boosts your motivation. Lesson 13. Adult learners are their own worst enemies. They say things to themselves about guitar playing that they would never say to a friend. I suck at this. I should quit before I embarrass myself further. This was my 58-year-old student, Helen, after missing just 3 days of practice. Dr. Kristen Neff's studies show that self-compassion improves adherence to healthy behaviors across all ages. Self-criticism triggers your brain's threat response, which actually inhibits learning. My most successful students treat themselves like they would treat a grandchild learning something brand new, with patience, encouragement, and celebration of small wins. Before you criticize your playing, ask yourself, would I say this to my best friend who is trying something brand new? If the answer is no, don't say it to yourself. Replace "I'm terrible at this" with "I'm learning this." Replace "I should be better by now" with "I'm exactly where I need to be in my journey." Imagine how much lighter and more enjoyable learning becomes when you treat yourself with the same kindness you'd offer a friend. Here's the lesson: self compassion accelerates progress more than self criticism. Be your own best teacher, not your own worst critic. This week, if you catch yourself being harsh, just pause and say one encouraging thing to yourself instead. Here's what I realized after teaching thousands of older adults: the biggest breakthroughs don't happen in isolation. They happen when you hear real stories from people who've walked the same exact path that you're on. Recently, I sat down with my friends at Taylor Guitars to dig deeper into those mental roadblocks that stop older learners cold and the behavioral science that can break through them. We talked about why retirement can actually make guitar harder to learn and how to handle that voice in your head that says, "I'm just not good enough." If you want to hear the real, unfiltered conversation about what it takes to succeed as an older guitar learner, click here to watch this video next.